This is Harsh Rules. I'm Ben Harsh, and today we're going to break down the rules for Commands and Colors Tricorne. Commands and Colors Tricorne was released in 2017 by Compass Games and designed by Richard Borg. This game supports 2 players and takes from an hour to an hour and a half to play. Tricorne is another entry in the popular Commands and Colors game series by Richard Borg. This version focuses on the war for independence between the 13 American colonies versus Great Britain. Commands and Colors games can be organized into 2 types. Premium entries with plastic miniatures like Memoir 44 and Battle Lore, and block entries like Ancients and Napoleonics. Tricorne is a member of the latter group, containing over 300 colored wooden blocks with stickers depicting the various factions in the war. Regardless of the presentation, though, all entries in the Commands and Colors series use a simple yet engrossing game system customized to represent the tactical nuances of their respective conflict, and as you'll soon see, Tricorne is no different. Like other games in the series, Tricorne utilizes a modular hex board and terrain tile system that players use to build and play out famous historical battles. The Tricorne base game presents 12 battles from the Revolutionary War. The first scenario, Pema's Heights, took place on October 7, 1777. In this battle, Britain's General Burgoyne is running low on men and food and waiting for some much-needed support from his superiors. Unfortunately, while reconnoitering the wilderness, the British are spotted by Continental scouts. Upon hearing the scouts' report, General Gates sends a large Continental force to engage the vulnerable British army. In setup, players position blocks on the board to represent each side in the battle. Only one infantry, cavalry, or artillery unit can occupy a single hex at a time. These units are comprised of 4 stickered blocks. Each block represents a portion of the unit's health. Leaders, on the other hand, represent an individual person and can move through hexes with friendly units, but cannot end their movement in a hex with another leader. However, if a leader ends their movement in a hex with a unit, they become attached and may grant the unit bonuses in battle. Taking turns, players issue orders to their units on the game board by drawing and playing command cards. In the Pema's Heights scenario, each side draws 5 command cards to begin the game. There are 2 types of command cards: section cards and tactic cards. Section cards allow orders to be placed to 1 or more sections on the game board. This advanced left section card allows the player to issue 1 order to 3 units and/or leaders in the left section. Advance right does the same thing for the right section of the game board. There's a card for the center section as well. Units in a hex on a section line can be activated in either section. The second type of command card are tactic cards. Tactic cards allow special maneuvers with specific units on the game board. For example, this bayonet attack enables 3 infantry units to move 2 hexes in battle, which is above and beyond their standard abilities with a section card. All of the standard tactic cards are part of the main command deck and can be drawn by either side. Tricorne also includes 2 decks of combat cards. Combat cards function the same as tactic cards, but are designed to emphasize the unique gameplay abilities of either the Continentals or the British. In the first scenario, Pema's Heights, the Continental player begins with 4 combat cards. The British player, 3 combat cards. A player's turn is organized into 5 steps. We've already covered step 1 and 2 for playing a command card and issuing orders to units. Now let's talk about step 3, movement. Most units can only move 1 hex per turn. Light infantry and cavalry can move up to 2 hex spaces. Leaders have the greatest mobility and can move up to 3 hex spaces. Once all activated units have moved, it's time to conduct combat. Tricorne employs 2 combat types in the game. In range combat, the attacking unit must establish line of sight to a target within their range. This can be challenging if the desired target is within the cover of trees or blocked from sight by a building. Most units have an average range of 3 hexes. Artillery can hit a target 5 hexes away. The greater the distance to the target, the less dice a player can throw to try and score a hit. Melee combat occurs when 2 opposing units are in adjacent hexes. Melee combat is much more dangerous because if the enemy doesn't retreat, they can battle back and roll dice against the attacker. As a result, both sides can lose blocks in a fight the attacker instigated. One of the main advantages of melee combat, though, is the attacker can roll the maximum number of dice for their unit. Combat is conducted with custom 6-sided battle dice. Each unit's individual stats, range, and situation on the battlefield will determine the number of dice to roll. To score a hit on the enemy, the attacker must roll the die result that matches the class of the unit. An infantry symbol to hit an infantry unit, a cavalry symbol to hit a cavalry unit, and so on. Several units specialize in hand-to-hand combat. In a melee attack, these units can score a hit when the saber symbol is rolled. In certain situations, the saber die result can be used to eliminate leaders as well. Whenever a hit is scored, the defender removes 1 block from the unit. When all blocks are removed, the unit is eliminated and the attacker scores a victory banner. If a player scores enough victory banners, they can win the scenario. In Bemis Heights, the first player to score 5 victory banners wins the game. Now, let's discuss the final die result, which is a huge focus for this game. The flag symbol tests a unit's morale. Without sufficient cover, support, or bravery, the unit will retreat hex spaces for the number of flags rolled. If a unit retreats, they will then need to make a dice roll and receive at least 1 flag to rally back to the fight. If the player fails to roll a flag, then the unit completely routes from the battlefield and is removed from the game. The attacker then receives a victory banner for the eliminated unit. Therefore, a flag symbol can trigger a retreat, and a player then needs to roll a second flag symbol to stop the retreat and rally back into the battle. In Tricorne, it may seem like units will constantly rout off the board. However, this isn't the case at all. 2 of the 6 sides of the Tricorne die are flag symbols. This increases the odds significantly. More importantly, though, a unit's health determines the number of dice a unit can use to rally. There are other bonuses that can add to a unit's rally pool as well. Just remember, as the attacker, every time a unit loses a block, you're literally chipping away at the enemy's morale. Since blocks are removed before the retreat and rally sequence, eliminating just 1 block may make all the difference. With all that said, it's easy to see that morale is a huge element in Tricorne. Mitigating the risk of retreat and rallying the troops back into action when they flee are a key focus in the game. Shaking the enemy's resolve and scoring victory banners from routed units can be just as important a strategy as eliminating hardened veterans, if not more so. Keep these rules in mind as you develop your own strategy for the game. Now on to the final step. Finally, in Step 5, the player will check the bottom of their command card. Some command cards have a panel that instruct the player to draw a new combat card. Once this is done, discard the command card and any combat cards used during the turn. The player then draws a new command card from the deck and any combat cards if they were awarded. In the Bemis Heights scenario, the Continental player takes their turn first. Once they've completed the steps we've listed here, the British player takes their turn, and so on, back and forth. Players will continue in this fashion until one side earns 5 victory banners and wins the game. So, if all of this sounds interesting, stick around. In the next episode, we're going to take a detailed look at the various battle mechanics for Command and Colors Tricorne. I hope you've enjoyed this overview for Commands and Colors Tricorne by Compass Games. In the next episode in this series, we will go into greater detail on combat and the role of leaders in the game. If you found this video helpful, please give me a like and share with your friends. To be the first notified when the next episode of Harsh Rules becomes available, please hit the bell icon for notifications. And as always, this has been Harsh for Harsh Rules. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.